to this? Okay.
All right. Good afternoon. Today's January 28th, and this is the Yolo County Fire Safe Council meeting. And we have called it to order. If you haven't already, please indicate your affiliation in chat or in your Zoom name. And the second action on the agenda item is to approve the agenda for this meeting. So if anybody has any changes from the agenda that was sent out last night and the one that's here, either speak up now, or I'm looking for a motion in a second so that we can move on.
Kate Laddish will move to approve.
Happy Valley Fire will second.
All right, we have a motion in a second, and I didn't hear anyone speak out on any urgent changes. So all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. All right. So the agenda is approved. Action or item number 3, which is to approve the meeting minutes from December 10th, 2025. They were sent out last Thursday. Hopefully, everybody had a chance to review them and you know, if there are any corrections, please speak up. If not, a motion in a second to approve the December 10th minutes.
I'm not going to lie, I'm reading them right now, but they look fantastic, and I move that we accept them.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the December 10th minutes. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. We're on to item 4, member announcements. So if anybody has a brief announcement that won't get covered in a report, now's your time. Speak up, please.
I've got one. We've got the oh well, I guess we'll probably meet in February prior to it going on. But the Almond Festival is coming up on Sunday, February 22nd this year, and it's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be a bunch of stuff to do in the Cape Valley. The fire department will be serving barbecued oysters. The Grange Hall has got a crafts fair going on. There's a farmer's market up in Rumsey. It's a little earlier this year than it has been in years past, so hopefully we get a bunch of blossoms. But it's a beautiful day to go out and take a spin on Highway 16. And I encourage everybody to come on up.
It does sound fun. And on similar lines, I have 0 details, except that I just learned that Solano RCD is having a spring plant sale at Berryessa Brewery.
Ooh,
But I do not know the date, although Allie might.
I actually don't think they have one confirmed just yet. They're oscillating 2 weekends, so more information soon on that.
More to come, but start looking around in your yard for places to plant things.
Okay. Well, so now we're on to item 5, hearing no more announcements. And that is shift fund from contracting task 3 to Yolo County RCD staff task 2 to do small projects and project maintenance. And I think you need to explain this one.
I definitely need to explain this.
I had a hard time trying to, I think I figured it out, but
I didn't want to put too much explanation in the agenda. However, we have our coordinator report with all the things that are most current are highlighted. And then down at the bottom, we have our little budget. So this is a quarterly update of how much we budgeted, how much we've spent, and how much we have left. So task 1 was always project management. You know, all the time that I spend getting planning and getting projects set up. And then task 2 was a smaller amount for RCD staff to help with things here and there. And then task 3 was the biggest line item, which was $650. $30,000, of which we spent just over half. But what's happening is contractors are getting more expensive. I've gotten some quotes lately that are almost twice the amount for smaller projects than have happened in the past. And our staff is, like there's small projects that they're really nimble and can just go do. I added a few things to this, projects that RCD can support on. For example, when we're working along Highway 128, sometimes, we have the Delta crew and we have a chipper, and sometimes the flood control irrigation district runs the chipper, and sometimes we do. So we have to pay our staff from this pot of money to run the chipper, and for me or somebody else to do biological monitoring to make sure they're not cutting down elderberries, and we have to do nest surveys. So that's 128, which is an active ongoing project. We're going to be starting the Dry Creek Fuels project with the California Conservation Corps, and they have to have several knowledgeable on the ground staff people leading them while they work. You can't just say, go do this. There's a lot of working side by side with to make sure things get done correctly. And that's RCD staff. And then there's a few Rumsey buffer sites, the North Buffer area, which was burned last year, which will be hopefully burned again this spring. And the same in the East Rumsey, we had a burn there, and now we're also starting to work on the removing some eucalyptus there, but we do need people to go up and do biological surveys, make sure there's no nests. Not so well, actually, in the eucalyptus as well. And then there's a few small projects. There might be some trees that need limbing and thinning along roadsides. There's one that we're talking about doing where I got the staggering quote on south of Rumsey. And then last week, actually, our crew went out on County Road 41 where we had done a ton of work, and they, things are starting to grow back. So they treated those growing back plants and cut up a tree that had fallen onto the site. And then we also really want to push back fuels on Positas Road in the Golden Bear area. And that's something that our staff can just go do. So those are just some of the things that, we need to be covered to be able to keep these projects moving along. So I did some quick and dirty math and wanted to add basically about $39,000 to RCD staff time to cover all this. And then we would still have $250,000 for contractors. And just to remind you, this, we're trying to finish this up by the end of the year, finish this money up. So we can't just draw it out, we need to keep moving. So that's the more efficient way to do it in terms of cost savings. And, it's taken us a little longer to get through this because we're innovative, and we have the Delta Camp crew that can do amazing projects for less than $500 a day per crew. Now we have the Conservation Corps, which are going to be doing a big project, but it still takes funds to support the crew. So that is my logic. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Do we have a quorum today?
Well, good question.
So our quorum is 2/3 of members that are present. So right now we have 6 people present. So we'll need 4 out of 6.
Okay, and it's only like the 2/3 of all members have to vote on something large like a chair or amendment bylaws change or amend the bylaws.
Okay. I had forgotten.
Yeah.
Right.
Tanya,
I'm all-
leaving a quarter of a mil in there. Remind me, I mean, I'm assuming you've already done the math and everything. The only upcoming project that I can remember is the one we talked about today, where you guys are going to do that contract grazing over on the Center for Land-Based Learning
That's
property.
actually a different pot of money.
Ah, got it.
That's for our CAL FIRE implementation grant.
Okay.
So yeah, we still have $250,000 to direct towards other projects. And we did meet with the West Side Fire Chiefs today, which was really good to get their input. And the focus is to keep working in the Cape Valley because that's where the heavier fuels are, and also to keep doing roadside projects, which I was really happy about because I like those. You can work from the road. The access is really easy. So, I mean, we do have our project list over here. We can look at things that are not done. We still, anyway. So we do have plenty of funds.
I would move the money as suggested.
I'll second Ms. Elaine.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or concerns?
And just to clarify, that we still have enough money to do the other things that we were already planning on doing. I think that's what I understood that you just said.
Yeah, this doesn't take away. It's just, and remember that this original budget wasn't like scoped out. There wasn't,
Yeah.
site walks. And so it's like, well, this seems like a good amount of money for this big project. The Highway 128, I think we had put like 200,000 in there, which probably wouldn't even cover a contractor right now, but the Delta crew is going to get it done really soon. We have 2 crews coming out again next month. So,
Great.
yeah, that's what happens when you're frugal with money. Then you don't spend it as fast as you're supposed to.
All right. Terrific.
Any additional questions?
Is the transfer that you guys are talking about, you said you think that's going to cover it for the rest of the year? Or are we going to need to do another budget revision or something later on this year?
We may have to do another budget revision later this year.
But
But I didn't want to just like do a massive in case, we want to keep
no,
going
that
down the track that we're going.
okay, yeah, that makes sense because we would have to do a reverse potentially.
That's true too.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just have a logistics question that has to do with voting as we get close to that. So, Jonathan, this is question for or request for you as Mr. Chair, especially since since there's so few of us on here and we need to make sure that we really do have a quorum voting, if everybody who's representing a member organization can make sure to unmute or do whatever you need to cast a vote. I think that would help us make sure that we're keeping kosher.
Yeah, we've got a large group, and I'm I was thinking, I don't have to represent Severa, but I know our
You can
representative.
vote Debbie, Kate, Matt,
Yep.
Tara, Elaine, Jesse, and Rich. And Emiliana, you remind me what your affiliation is?
I'm here representing Senator Cabalden.
Okay, so you are not an active voting member, but we're glad you're here.
Okay.
I'm going to do the wrench in the works thing. I don't remember exactly what the language was, but I do remember that there was a voting eligibility requirement in the bylaws that had something to do with meeting attendance, and I have been terrible at attending meetings. So I don't know if my vote counts.
No, Jesse, you're good because you have to miss 2 consecutive meetings to no longer be in good standing. And you've missed just one every other month, so you're good.
All right.
That's news uh, for everyone as well to remind them to keep us in good order. All right. Any more discussion, or can I call the question?
I'm ready to vote.
All right. Now it's time to vote. So again, if everyone will clearly take a moment and vote. Those in favor, aye.
I
Aye.
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 I think I counted 5 there. So any opposed, nay. Have I waited a sufficient time? Hearing none opposed, this carries.
All right, we'll keep on doing some work.
Yeah, and so
Thank
now
you.
we're on to regular reports. Tanya, I turn it.
And I do have just like one voting question. If there's 6 eligible orgs here who can vote, but we only had 5 I votes, there might be an abstention.
Ah,
I'll just add, maybe in moving forward, if we're concerned, maybe we should do a roll call vote because we all may have voted and he might have just heard.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Great.
Or
Yeah.
or we could capture it in the chat, which would be the other safe way to do it. But
That's one way, right? You can also do like thumbs up
Yeah.
on your
Yeah.
screen.
Great. Just so long as we were all, as everything worked, then we're great.
Yeah.
Okay, so Matt is giving us the an example of voting on a screen. Whoa!
Like
Right.
somebody's like, whoa, yes. Sorry, my cat's totally chiming in. Apparently the cat is really in favor.
Cats are smart. Okay. Awesome. Guys ready for regular reports? Okay, well, CAL FIRE does not have any staff available today. They are all in training. This is training season for them. Christopher is here with Yolo County Office of Emergency Services. An interesting update.
Hi everyone. Yes, I just have one update. So we've been working with Severa and Cape Valley Fire. We're gonna be hosting our second evacuation drill for the Guindo residents this Saturday. Um, at 10 a.m. we'll be sending out the alert to evacuate only to our opt-in members. So we encourage anyone who has family, friends living in that area to sign up and register for Yolo alerts so that they'll be able to go ahead and receive that alert to evacuate. And the meeting point will be at the Gwinda Hall. Jesse, if am I missing anything else on my end?
No, that sounds well. Everybody who shows up and participates gets free ice cream.
That's right. That's right.
We're very food motivated.
Yeah, and other than that, that's all I have to report for the group. Thank you.
Cool. I hope that goes well and lots of people evacuate when they're told. So on to RCD reports. So I have my map pulled up, which I think is helpful for updating everyone. So as usual, we have stuff to talk about in Rumsey. We have this fuels project that we did here on the Scruffy turn going in. And again, our CAL FIRE East Division Chief reminded us today that ingress and egress are really important, especially for people to be getting out. So then there's some more work here. This was a really high quote, and I'm hoping, so there happens to be power lines over these trees, which PG&E topped the trees, which tends to kill them. So I'm hoping that they will help pay for this, and then maybe we'll have some RCD staff and maybe Delta crew and maybe contractor. but so PG&E is going to look at it in a couple months. So that is a potential project. I'll keep you posted on that. And I'm also hoping the landowner can chip in some as well, trying to get more, community buy-in for these projects. And then another, so back up north, Rumsey. Guys dizzy yet? Here's this burn that was done last year here. Will be expanded to spring, all weather permitting. This part over here is quite a big mess because the sand fire went through there in 2019, I believe. There's lots of dead and down. The local Brook Station CAL FIRE crew is starting to do some cutting and piling for pile burning. So this is going to be cleaned up so that it can potentially be broadcast burn at some point, hopefully in the near future. So that's more acres, black acres for the Rumsey buffer, and just to clean it up. It's a really neat spot, and they're going to tie in. There's a hill right here. They're just going to go up this brushy hillside and tie into the highway. It's part of the Rumsey buffer. So they're excited about that. They're really excited to be contributing to the buffer work. So that's good. And, using our CD staff, we'll have to, I walked the site and flagged the elderberries, and we'll have to do nest surveys when nesting season starts. So that's what the funds that you just voted for go to help. As I mentioned before, we're continuing the shaded fuel bank work along Highway 128. We had the Delta crew out. We had one crew out December 30, and then we had two crews out last week. And they're just going along, cleaning it up. There's some maintenance, and then we keep pushing back a little bit further every year, back off the road. So it's looking really nice. And then I mentioned the Dry Creek section. If you don't mind a little zooming, I'm going to zoom out and down to Winters. I think I had mentioned this before, but it's getting closer. Just this stretch here of Dry Creek will have hand crews of the California Conservation Corps working. And yeah, that's all handwork because there's steep banks and it is a dry creek. So that'll happen in May if everything goes according to plan. And that's also what I mentioned. We'll need a few RCD staff on hand to guide and direct those crews and possibly run the chipper if flood control is not available for that.
Hey, Tanya, Matt from Bobcat, real quick on the Highway 128 project with the Delta crew. Is that going in? Is that expanding the shaded fuel break area, or is that going in and hitting those figs back that are coming back?
We haven't hit any figs yet. We're just working on the south side, and all the figs on the south side are right next to the creek, and we're just working 30 feet off the road from the edge of the pavement along the road.
Cool.
But the section that we have been working in wasn't done very deeply last time, so it was like 5 feet, so we're pushing it back 30, and it's rough and it's been going slow, but we're almost done with that, and then we're just gonna be zipping along doing maintenance until we're gonna hit a curve where we had to put in a big buffer 2 years ago because there was some nesting pond turtles below, but they're all hibernating, so they're not doing their spring thing yet. So that's a good time of year to be doing that kind of maintenance work.
Great. Keep me posted when you want to do the north side of 128.
Well, that we would need permission from Caltrans, which could take a while. But
Tanya,
CAL FIRE is.
I have two comments about this Dry Creek project. One is that everything to the west of that project is non-burnable. So you've got solar panels and orchards and everything. And so the only thing that's going to burn is what's in the creek itself. And Dry Creek is notorious for erosion. And it seems like, you really don't want to clear out vegetation because the whole thing just starts falling apart and the houses start falling into the creek.
Right. Well, that makes sense in a more natural system. We walked up the bank, or I mean up the creek bed. It's mostly non-native trees, which we will not be taking any trees down, just limbing. Um, we it's all non-native trees actually. And then there's a big patch of arundo, which is not helping things. The east side is already kind of armored below the houses. So basically, like if a spark got in there on a windy day, it could go into town. And one of the reasons that I'm using the Cs is because, we had on our list, we have our winter's Creekside fuels work, which this kind of is, but it's not in the state responsibility area. And the Cs aren't limited by that. They can just work in town with no problem. And it's not like the Delta crew that has issues working in town because they're inmates. So yes, I did think about that, but I consulted with our fire chief in Winters, and he's very concerned about that area as well as downstream, which connects to the creek.
Right.
So it'll just be limbing and thinning. We're not like ripping any vegetation off the banks of the creek. And yeah, like I said, the east side is pretty armored because there's houses above it.
And yeah, and Debbie, if I can jump in, I'll switch hats to Winters Natural Resources Commission. I really appreciate you thinking about the erosion and what happens if you take out the vegetation. It's the fire risk is pretty substantial, and there's a great big whacking patch of arundo, right, kind of right where it meets 128, and Chief Snyder and his team have actually worked and just recently got permission to remove that, and that's been about 20 years coming. And so that's a huge step in the right direction. But yeah, it's always, as you're alluding to, it's always a balance between erosion and making sure that we don't have the stuff in there. But it's one of the big pathways into town for fire, so it's a concern.
Yeah,
There's a lot of pathways into
that's
town.
true.
Yeah, but it's something, that's been flagged for quite a while.
Okay.
There we go. Let's see. Yeah, the arundo's all right here.
And
there's a lot of homeowners on this side who've actually been doing some work, but this is all out of control here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is going along. And then since we're in Winters, I'll show you the site where the grazing's going to be. Here is Placitas, the community of Bobcats to the north. It's this area here. 17 acres, very steep. They'll have a mix of sheep and goats up there, thinning the fuels down. I think we talked about this at the last meeting also.
Yeah, and Tanya, actually I have a question about that, because my sense from the last meeting was that it was going to cost a huge amount of our money and not be a permanent fix, and that there was going to be a bunch of stuff that was going to need to be done before the grazing, and that it was basically, it was going to be a gift to Center for Land-Based Learning, which, I mean, I love Center for Land-Based Learning, but my sense was that there was a lot of hesitancy about that. And so I'm hoping that you can just kind of fill us in on what this
I can. So this will be funded by our CAL FIRE implementation grant. And the reason I had asked this group for a little funding to add to that pot was because it was so expensive, but because, and Karen Young can talk about this, across the creek, Solano is, with that same implementation grant, is going to be doing a grazing project. So we are just working with that same contractor. So he reduced the charge for that. But yes, it will still all grow back next year, but it'll be a good start and hopefully get people excited about grazing, and maybe even say, wow, we want to do that and form a cooperative in Placitas or Golden Bear. So, and it is a grant deliverable for our implementation grant.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
this,
So
this pot of money is not costing us anything.
Well, terrific. I like that a lot better.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
is
I'm
it
sorry if I didn't explain that well last time.
And is it still going to require removing a bunch of the downed trees and so forth first, or?
No, that
Great.
is not, that's too much work.
Okay.
Animals will
Great.
they'll be doing the light flashy fuels.
Yeah. Great.
And then the last thing is, this also is not a early action fund project, although maybe it could be in the future, but we are supporting and promoting, and Karen can talk more about this too, grazing cooperatives, which I think we had talked about before. And so we had another, can you see a picture? We had another grazing workshop last weekend up in Rumsey at Full Valley Farm. And we had a great turnout, and it was a beautiful day. And we had Sarah Kaiser, who spoke here a few months ago. And then we had Rosalie Bush from Cooperative Extension, who's a small ruminant specialist. And we got to look at pregnant ewes, no newborn lambs. And everybody learned a lot about animal behavior and how to care for them. And so I'm just showing you nice pictures of happy people. Here we had one lamb that was our tester. We showed people how, where you would give injections and did health assessment and that sort of thing. Bye, Kate. Thank you. So that is our my last report. So I want to, unless anyone has any questions about on the ground stuff, I'll just continue giving updates. Oh yeah, then there was the fence layout, which nobody got hurt tripping over fences. That's it. I'm not going to show the video. Okay. But I'm just going to keep zipping along. So in terms of grant updates, since we last met, the RCD and the Cape Valley Fire Department submitted 2 grants, one each. We submitted a grant to do cost share for home hardening in the state responsibility area, and a grant to the Fire Adapted Communities Network to do grazing in the northern Cape Valley through the Cape Valley Fire Department. So we've not heard back from either of those, but hopefully next month. And I will turn it over to Allie for the Yolo PBA update and outreach.
Thanks, Tanya. Nothing much to report except I actually need to grab that link. We're planning, I've mentioned this in a couple of meetings, but we're finally getting a date on the books for a pile burning workshop with the Yolo PBA. So we're still trying to nail down some dates, but we're looking at sometime in late February. So I do have a sign-up sheet if you're interested in attending and want to sign up. Right now, I can share that. And then that's kind of the update for the PBA. I mentioned in previous meetings that we're hoping to host a RT 130 training in the springtime, and we're still working with one of our potential training contacts to get that set up. So that's still pretty tentative. And then still working with the Yolo Solano PBA steering committee to, plan the build out of our PBAs into the future. But that's the big update, is that pile burning workshop if anyone's interested. And then outreach stuff for the Fire Safe Council. It's kind of the same old, same old. The reflective address sign program is still up and running, and same with the Chipper Day. We haven't hosted a Chipper Day since November. We just haven't had the interest. Right now, I think we have 2 properties on the list. So I'm hoping to get, as folks get ready for the springtime and summertime, hoping to get more interest in that. And hoping to host a Chipper Day in February, maybe. But yeah, other than that, it's kind of business as usual.
Awesome.
Allie,
Thank you,
can I
Allie.
add in on that pile burning deal really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I talked to Bailey about this today, and it sounds like we're possibly going to be doing this workshop up somewhere in the Cape Valley. And I don't know, what kind of turnout. I'm going to try and encourage as many Valley residents as I can to attend this thing up here. I think a lot of people feel like pile burning is very simple, yet nonetheless, we get tons and tons of questions every year about things, even as basic as the size of the pile and um, some of the rules and regulations about what you can burn, when you can burn, and hoops that you need to jump through for different agencies. It's particularly difficult in the Cape Valley because we're regulated by the Yolo Air Quality Management District, who are in charge of the any of the pollutants going up into the air, as well as CAL FIRE, because our whole valley is state responsibility area. And there's a third step of having to log your burn with my fire dispatch so that the fire agencies all know where the piles are. So if you're talking to people about this, even if they think pile burning is really simple, just light a match and walk away or whatever. People who have been doing this for years, myself included, still end up with questions about, am I doing this the right way and am I talking to the right people about it? So I think it's going to be really valuable, and it's hopefully going to be more educational than just watching a giant pile of stuff burn.
Right. Yes, that's a good point. So Bailey Adams, who's our PBA coordinator, we're working together to build this workshop, and we're going to cover best ways to build and burn a pile for fast and clean burns. So even if you think you know how to build a pile, you might still learn something. And then Bailey has a ton of knowledge about permitting and when and why it's needed, and best ways to do that. And then just basic pile burning safety and preventing escapes. So that's probably going to be what the workshop mostly covers. I don't know if there's anything else to add, but yeah, like I said, if you're interested, definitely register at the link, and then I'll follow up with more updates. And once we have a date and time, I'll share a flyer so that y'all can share it with your contacts as well. Thanks, Jesse.
So I'll also add that, so if you can see the map, so CAL FIRE has been making lots of little piles here. And those got burned off. But anyway, apparently when CAL FIRE does pile burning, they light them all at once. So that could, if we are able to coordinate with CAL FIRE, which they're totally into, it could be an exciting workshop. A good excitement, not not bad excitement. But it won't just be watching a pile of brush burn. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you. Karen, are you ready to give your Solano update? Because you've got lots going on there across the creek.
Yes, I am. All right. I was writing down my list of making sure I've got everything on here. As you mentioned, the grazing cooperative that we are supporting has started up their operations. They got their sheep this past weekend. Hopefully I'll have pictures to share soon and videos of how it's going. But to hark back to Kate's comment about the point of grazing and how is it worthwhile to spend quite a lot of money to do grazing in an area where it's just going to grow back. Part of what we're hoping to do with this work that Tanya mentioned, and that we've got some of this work planned as well, is use these contract grazing projects to jumpstart the local interest in establishing these grazing cooperatives. So this is a group that's operating kind of in the vicinity that Tanya's got open on her map right now of 6 landowners who got together and decided, we'd like to give this grazing thing a try. And they worked through a whole bunch of questions that essentially a grazing consultant put to them. So they all went through some hard decisions in advance, like what do we do if that person's dog gets out and kills all the sheep? Going through all of those things in advance, how do we approach vet bills? How do we approach euthanasia? And they collectively chipped in and bought 20 sheep. The RCD sponsored some of the electric fencing and other equipment. And we're hoping that this can become a model for small grazing cooperatives to operate sustainably throughout the region. There are places where it doesn't make sense to have animals year round. There are folks for whom it doesn't make sense to have that responsibility all the time, but being able to share animals with your neighbors and graze for years and years with the same animals that know the properties might be a lot more cost effective for some folks than hiring out a grazer every year. Contract grazers do great work, but when you're looking at prices in the thousands of dollars per acre, it really doesn't pencil out for a lot of folks. So that's one of the things that we're looking at with that high price tag, and we're excited that this is starting up just across the creek from Yolo County. A few other things. There had been a lot of discussions about pile burn workshops. Solano PBA is hosting a pile burn workshop this coming Saturday in Pleasance Valley or the English Hills area. So if you are just itching to learn more about how to do pile burns, a lot of the information that will be presented at this one will apply to pile burns in Solano County, or sorry, in Yolo County. A lot of the information, especially with the air district for this part, it's the same air district. It's Yolo Solano. The fire agency information is always going to vary depending on where you are. But if you're interested in that, you RSVP to Elizabeth Davis, and I will put her email address in the chat box here. If I can type. All right. Other things. If you are keeping up on the Solano County Fire Safe Council calendar, the next meeting for that is coming up in 1 week. We are copying the time that you folks are using because it seems to work pretty well for a lot of folks. So 4 p.m. on Wednesday, February 4th. The calendar invite already went out. If you don't have that on your calendar and you'd like to find it, you can either email me, I'll put my email address in the chat box, or you can go on to the Solano Fire Safe Council website, solanofsc.org, and find that information there.
It's also in your coordinator report.
Last thing that I've got as an update, and this is for Solano and Yolo. If you are a landowner who is an ag producer as defined by the USDA, I wanted to make you aware that there's a NRCS cost share opportunity that is available for fuel reduction efforts. In that link that I just put into the chat box, if you scroll down, 2516 is the RCPP pool. This is building fire resiliency in the California Coast Range. This is federal cost share funding for things like large tree or large woody debris removal. Not sure if NRCS has lifted their suspension on pile burning in California, but debris removal, brush removal, mechanical treatments, grazing treatments. If you already have perimeter fencing, they will fund the installation of interior cross fencing so that you can subdivide and rotational graze. Lots of different things. So reach out to your local NRCS contacts. It's open until April 10th. NRCS partners are a little overworked, so give them a lot of time to work with you on that application.
Karen, this RCPP is awesome. It was my understanding that it isn't valid in Yolo County.
Oh,
I believe Yolo is still that folks from Yolo are still able to apply. Tanya, is that, or Tanya or Allie, do you know more about
Yeah,
that?
no, there's still funding allocated to Yolo County.
Mhm.
Is this post LNU complex, or is this the new one that came out?
This is not not tied to a specific fire footprint. If you had applied previously and been told there's not enough funding, this program is going away. That has changed. Some of the partners scraped out portions of budget and threw it back into the pot for landowners. And there is now more funding available, but we do expect this to be the last round of applications.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Thanks for the info.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's
good info.
it from me.
Okay. Let us, in the last 10 minutes, thank you, do our Community Fire Safe Council reports. Jonathan, would you mind reporting for Cape Bay Valley Fire Safe Council?
We've been in the planning stages for our defensible space work that we do for some of the seniors or elderly who are unable to afford or physically can't do that. And we've been setting those dates, debating who we may, if there's one potential to add, but planning that out for this year with our membership. And to this point, we're also working on planning a late March, early April community meeting to discuss defensible space.
Cool. Napa's not here, Pleasant Valley's not here, but Wes Winters is here. Or did Deb leave? Debbie? She left. Okay, Karen, back to you.
Hi again. Sorry. I realized as soon as I stopped talking that I did forget to share an announcement about a wildfire prevention grant from CAL FIRE that Solano RCD and Yolo County RCD got within the last few months, and we are approaching having an executed contract for that. But it's a lot of roadside clearing work and maintenance of roadside clearing, and it's really good to see the investment in maintaining that work. So we've got that coming soon. Contract should be signed within the next 48 hours. So very excited about this. Tanya, I saw that facial expression.
Right.
The full grant award for this one is $435,000 and change. So it's roadside work and a lot of probably chipping and some mastication and herbicide retreatment. So yeah, if there are questions about that, reach out to Yolo folks in Yolo and me in Solano.
And we're going to be using it to maintain, so this grant goes till 2031?
2029.
Oh, dang. Okay, so by then, a lot of our projects will have regrown, and then we'll have maintenance money to redo them, to clean them up. But most of it's for Solano, which is good. But yeah, we got some maintenance in there, which makes me happy. So that's it for reports. So Jonathan, back to you.
Okay. Well, the last item on the agenda is number 7, and that's adjourn and set the next meeting, which
right, you have to look at my agenda because I had
yes, you corrected it because I'm
yes.
sitting here reading the other one going, oh, that's wrong.
That's today.
February 25th, 2026.
Or we could skip a month and go to March. But that's up to you guys, but I just want to put that out there. So talk amongst yourselves.
That's
what do we have in the hopper that we'd be talking about on I need to find out somehow when the next Solano RCD plant sale is. Although I suppose we wouldn't need to convene an entire meeting of the Fire Safe Council for me to do that. But
I mean, if you really want to. We're looking at April 25th.
April 25th. All
It
right.
hasn't been confirmed yet.
All right. I'm gonna put that in my calendar tentatively.
See, look, I just saved you a meeting.
Mhm.
Hell yeah, we can meet again in March then for all I care.
I mean, we didn't have a lot of participation here in this meeting, and it may not be February. We don't have a lot of work. We've moved money to continue the ongoing work, and that certainly will get us well past that meeting. So,
It's up to you all.
yep, that's where I'm.
I move to not come back until March.
All right, so that would be March. So look at a calendar.
25th.
25th? Oh, right.
Yeah.
28 days makes it um,
All right. Boom.
yeah. There was just a note in chat that maybe there was a problem with the email list, so we might double check that.
Yeah, I saw that. I've been in. All right,
Yeah.
so I'll send out an invite for March 25th.
Okay. Well, and then I guess we need a motion and second to close the meeting as we've done.
Motion to adjourn.
We still got a few people left to second.
Second.
All right. We got a motion to adjourn in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. Thank you, and see you on March 25th, 2026.